Offender here, their restraint here at 11:60. We are staying ready to send up tonight. Here is ready to start at this time at 11:60.
Miss Roberts?
Yes. Can you hear
Hi.
me?
Yes, we can hear you very well. We will get started here shortly. I just wanted to let you know because we knew you were waiting.
No problem. Thanks for the confirmation that my audio is working.
All right. Thank you.
up here. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Oh, Park, are you guys there? Is Mr. Bowie?
Yeah, we're here.
Mr. Bowie in the room?
So we just had an ICS and we're just waiting for a count to clear. It should be clearing any minute, and then he will be up here.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Counselor.
No one's hearing you.
Okay. Now?
Yes.
Okay. I thought I hit the button, but I guess I didn't. So just calling the meeting to order here for Friday, May 30th. Board member Christine Bray is absent and rest of the roll. Board member Earhart.
Here.
Board member Larson.
Present.
Member Cheryl Ramstead.
Here.
Board member Jody Nelson.
Here.
Board member Don Strufert.
Here.
And Chanel is here. So we do have a quorum of members of the board here. All cases being heard today are cases that have the full 7-member board. We will have 6 without member Bray's absence. So it's a simple majority vote in these cases. So just waiting on Mr. Bowie to get to the room, and we'll begin.
Hello?
No, he is on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to come straight in there or?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yep, that would be great. Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah.
Bye.
come closer to the TV, sit closer in one of the chairs closer to the TV so we can see you better? Oh, there we go.
Can you see me?
Yep. Can you
Very
see us
good.
here?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Rebecca Holmes Larson, Executive Officer of Hearings and Release and the Supervised Release Board. We are here today to review Danny Alec Bowie Jr., who is present by video at the Minnesota Department of Corrections facility at Oak Park Heights. Mr. Bowie Jr. also has his advocate and godmother, Miss Yvette Roberts, participating today as well. Thank you, Miss Roberts, for attending. Here with me at the Minnesota Department of Corrections Central Office is our Commissioner and Chair of the Supervised Release Board, Mr. Paul Schell, along with board members Joe Earhart, member Andrew Larson, member Cheryl Ramstead, juvenile expert member Jody Nelson, and juvenile expert member Don Strufert. Our records indicate that on December 14th of 2005, Minneapolis police responded to a reported shooting. Upon arrival, they found an adult male, Philip Williams, with gunshot wounds to his head and back. The victim's roommate, JW, stated she heard a loud knock on the door. She reported that Mr. Williams answered the door and 3 shots were heard. JW found Philip lying on the floor bleeding. Philip Williams was deceased at the scene. On 1/16 of 2006, Danny Bowie Jr. admitted to the shooting. It should be noted 3 days prior to the murder of Philip Williams, on 12/11 of 2005, Danny Bowie Jr. was involved in a robbery of a convenience store. Police officers had recovered a fragment of a bullet casing which matched one found at the homicide scene on December 14th of 2005. Mr. Bowie Jr. later admitted to the robbery. He said he got scared when the cashier said his name, and Bowie Jr. started shooting a gun, hitting a video machine, the wall behind the cashier counter, and a display case. On September 5th of 2006, in Hennepin County District Court, Danny Alec Bowie Jr. was sentenced to 408 months for the offense of second-degree murder and 48 months for the aggravated robbery, each sentence to be served consecutive aggregated. Due to new legislation regarding individuals who were juveniles at the time of their offense, Danny Bowie Jr. now has the opportunity to be reviewed by the Supervised Release Board after serving a minimum of 20 years incarceration. Today's review represents his initial review after serving approximately 19 and a half years of incarceration. His original minimum confinement release date is November 4th of 2031. Given the changes by the legislature regarding juvenile cases, Mr. Bowie Jr. is eligible to be considered for parole as of October 18th of 2025. It should also be noted that Mr. Bowie Jr. also has a detainer out of Washington County for count 1 felony assault, 3rd degree, substantial bodily harm, and count 2 felony assault, 4th degree, correctional employee. The incident happened on February 19th of 2022. A future court date for these charges has not yet been set. Thank you. I turn this matter over to the board. Commissioner?
Good morning, Mr. Bowie. How are you today?
Okay.
I'd like to start off by asking you to talk a little bit about what it is you'd like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
I would like to be considered for parole tonight.
Okay. Talk us through the whys of that and what makes you feel you're ready for that, and go from there.
At this point, I've spent the substantial years of the entirety of my adult life behind walls right now in this correctional setting. So I've pretty much, it feels that I've done almost all there is to do incarcerated. I think if there would be any more growth for me to do it, have at this time, it would be to have a job of my own, a career of my own, responsibilities of my own outside of the parameters already set forth by the DOC at this time.
What makes you feel that you would be successful just being released into the community and getting told to get a job?
I realistically, it would take me a little bit of time. I would have to go through the interview process and things like that, shop around to find actual gainful employment. But I've never had that before. It's something that I believe that I could do, that I am ready for, and that I am willing to do. Because this is my life. This is the only chance that I'm going to have at this point. There is no making up after this. I do not want to live my life and on the installment plan of being in and out of prison. That does not work for me.
So talk about just some of the challenges that you've had, because one of the key indicators oftentimes is what do we see? How do we see somebody's adjustment in the correctional setting as at least providing some insight into their ability to manage themselves in difficult situations. So talk about your history and some of the challenges you've had.
As I've stated, for me, it's just been growing up. So I've faced all challenges, from learning how to socialize with people I didn't know, being around people that I didn't want to be around, not having the ability to interact or even explore options or things that I was even interested in, and learning more than anything how to communicate my wants and needs, and even asking for assistance from other people. Because it makes it very difficult to try to explain to somebody what you're trying to do when you have no idea what you're even looking for.
So you've these are things that you're saying that you've gained, and there's been growth. Some of the disciplinary challenges. Talk about that. What's happening there?
I've had my disciplinary ups and downs. Majority of them have been minors, but those are still choices that at times I've made. So I've had to live with those consequences regardless. They have not been the best of choices all the time, but they are still things that I have done. Some I haven't had the greatest track record with discipline in some situations where I felt the outcome wasn't presented to me in the correct form, and I kind of felt like I was misled and taken advantage of.
Okay. So you talk about the choices that you've made, and the consequences that go along with that. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you think we would see continue if we were to be released, granted supervised release? In other words, that the situation presented itself and I made a choice and I'll have to live with the consequences. Would that continue, do you think, on the outside?
Are you saying accountability, or are you talking
about the conduct. What would make us believe that, in fact, in February you had some discipline. What would make us lead us to believe that we wouldn't see these types of things happen in the community?
Through all the mistakes that I've made and even the choices that I have made, I've had to gain some type of insight in myself and my surroundings and the people I've even dealt with. Even the incident that occurred in February, I verbalized my issues. I actually spoke to all of the officers involved and all of them throughout the building throughout the entire year. But I was not aware of how to go to the proper chain of command, or how to file my own type of complaints to better present myself and deal with that type of issue. I end up using that situation, and from that situation, turning it into more of an institutional type of, I guess you could say, way of solving the problem, because the words were no longer working, and it came to a physical head at that point. But like I said before, that choice still falls on myself. I can't blame anybody else for that.
Would it, in your view, would it be fair for me or for the board? I don't want to speak for the board, but to expect that you would demonstrate prosocial conduct and behavior inside as a precursor to being released?
You saying would my conduct inside the penitentiary reflect the same thing in the world?
Yeah, I mean, in other words, is it reasonable for me to expect that your conduct inside, the demonstration of prosocial conduct inside, is really one of the key indicators of what's going to happen on the outside?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That sense of you model today what we might expect to see on the outside, and okay, that's one of the. I'll just speak for myself. That's one of the concerns for me. So can you talk about, you say you're ready to go and that you don't want to live your life on the installment plan of coming in and out and those sorts of things. But when we look at some of the record, just going back into 2022 to present time, we see some of that kind of that very situation that you talked about wanting to avoid. So why should we? What should cause us to believe that you're ready for a change or a release?
My history probably doesn't read the best, and I've probably gone about my growth in a non-conventional way anyways. But the difference between being here and being released, there would be greater opportunities and greater options. Here, there would only be that one chance for employment. I have no other options. It's either work or don't work at all. I don't have the luxury of having multiple opportunities for employment or even personal outlets. I'm trying to make better choices. I've continued to make better choices, and a lot of that comes down to what am I going to do with myself versus what you're going to put before me.
Okay. When you think about your offense, the governing offense here, and you look at it through the eyes of a man who's 37, 36, whatever age you are today, you look back on that. Mm-hmm. Talk about how you make sense today of what happened those 20 years ago.
That was just a bad situation. There was no other outcome for that situation. The only choice there would have been to not allow myself to be in that situation at all. Because when it comes down to it, I had a gun, he had a gun, and we potentially could have harmed each other. And unfortunately, I did shoot this man. I killed this man. And he has his loved ones. He has his family, and there are people that are still going to feel the results of that action today. Even I have my own family that have gone through those same things, and I had not known how deep some of this stuff was gone. But I can only apologize for that and just feel remorseful enough that someone has lost their life in this action.
What do you imagine the impact was on the people left behind? The family members of your victim. What do you imagine the impact was on them?
That's almost unfathomable. Because even to this day, even for me being incarcerated. I've lost friends. I've seen people die in here. And to know I've had those conversations with someone today, and then to know that they're not there tomorrow, and to know how they met their end makes a big difference. For someone to die of natural causes versus someone being killed is a major difference. There's no you can't really put a word to someone's pain for that. Someone will blame me for the rest of their life probably for the loss of their loved one. They can forgive me if they choose to, but there's no forgiving that.
Do you believe that your sentence was a fair one?
I think for the sentencing guidelines, I was overly sentenced, but I can't put a time frame in someone's life.
So I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. That you
From
know,
what I saw,
yeah.
Sorry. From
Go
what
ahead.
I had learned with the sentencing guidelines and what I was shown, without me having any points at the time, I was sentenced outside of the box, plus an additional 41 months.
And so just you're looking at that through a sentencing guidelines lens that maybe wasn't fair.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna turn to Ms. Roberts. Thank you so much for being here today. I'd like to just open the floor to you to provide any thoughts or insights that you have with regard to Danny, and then we will open it up the board to ask questions of either you and or Mr. Boy.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Yvette Roberts, and Danny is a son I never had. I've been in his life since he was 2 years old. I knew him when he was the stubborn, impulsive, acting out teenager 20 years ago that put his life and others' lives at risk, and I know him now. He has grown up. He's taken college classes, and he's become a thoughtful and insightful young man. In answer to some of your questions earlier, what he's not telling you about are the kites that he has filed. Within that system, the way for him to work is to provide kites. And so instead of acting out, he's working within the process. He's also not telling you about the fights that he has stopped. Those aren't on his record. There's one that he prevented earlier this week. In the system that he's in, he has grown from the teenager into a man who shoulders responsibility and understands that his actions have consequences. I do feel that he's ready to experience what it's like to be a grown man outside of the MCF system. And I'm hoping that you're going to be able to recognize that growth and maturity in him as well.
Okay, thank you for that. With that, I would just open the floor to any of the board members to ask questions of either Ms. Roberts or Mr. Boy.
Mr. Boy, I'd like to hear what you've done in terms of addressing managing your anger. And I'm asking this specifically because of the 2022 assault on a staff. And I'd like to hear what precipitated the emotion that led to your assaulting staff at that time. And also whether anger was part of the murder that you committed. So could you talk about your anger, what you're doing to address it, what you have done?
My anger, I channel it mostly into my exercises and to reading. I haven't had many issues of lashing out at others. I felt provoked in some of those incidents, as you said. From the 22 incident, as I previously stated, I had already verbally addressed this officer time and time again, my entire disciplinary record from the entire 2021. Every incident I had ran into, minor or major, had been from this individual. From the minor, I guess you could say my personal space had been constantly violated, where you're excessively tossing my room, you're excessively throwing my things on the ground. But that's where I said I made the problem, where I didn't write a kite for it. I didn't address it to anyone else in writing, but I verbally addressed this with officers and everyone else, asked if I could have it mediated. We just never addressed it. It was just brushed off. And I guess you could say the breaking point for that was when he had threatened me in January during our COVID lockdown. So, once again, since I didn't write it down and try to have anyone else address this or mediate this situation in writing, it transpired the way that it had. But no, anger did not have anything to do with the crime that happened to Mr. Phillips. That in itself was a chain reaction. It literally turned into almost a quick draw. It wasn't something that I had gone seeking to hurt this man or trying to hurt this man or anything of that nature.
Do you think you've made progress since the 2022 assault in terms of controlling your emotions?
I think my emotions are in check. I don't physically take my emotions out or project my anger or frustrations to other people. It might not be in the best way of dealing with things, of isolation to a degree, but I have to remove myself from these situations most of the time and be able to process what I'm going through first before I can address others. Because I don't feel that it's fair for me to be upset about something that's outside of my control and take it out on somebody else.
Thank you.
Does that answer the question? Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
As I listen, I'm concerned about lack of opportunity to be understood by others or to understand what others are trying to convey to you. So I guess I'd say it's somewhat frustrating for me that the communication seems to have been blocked or can't make it. You can make it with some, not with others. Am I seeing the issue correctly? Communication has been a barrier or maybe a source of some of the disappointments and frustrations.
Some communication and delayed responses, because for me to relay my point, it is delayed, but punishment is always swift and never delayed.
Excuse me, help me here. Is that happening now between you and me? I mean, are we able to communicate with one another well right at this moment?
I hear you just fine.
Say again?
I hear you just fine. I understand exactly what you're saying.
Okay. I missed your point of where communication gets disrupted or how you're aware of that.
Where I'm unaware of that?
Yeah, where are you aware that communication gets disrupted? It's not happening between you and me. Keep going.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Sometimes that happens with anybody, though, where someone, even myself, even before, when I was younger, I get so stubborn to the point of just standing on my point, and what I'm trying to say, I'm not listening to anybody else. I've dealt with that with plenty of people. Sometimes you have to, if there's a situation where that comes into play, where someone is just steadfast in their point, you just have to pull yourself back from the conversation and try again. Or if there are other people that I could deal with, if it's an organization or business or whatnot that I could deal with, there may be other people that I could have a better conversation with. That not everyone is receptive to a conversation or to actually listen.
True. So there's the issue of communication may be broken down, and you've progressed somewhat of sort of avoiding or stepping back from the next confrontation in that situation. Is that correct?
I've tried to do that with all confrontations in all situations because I can't ask something of somebody that I'm not willing to give myself. And I can't ask someone to respect what I'm saying if I'm being disrespectful towards them.
I agree. And it takes both sides to make that work that through, is my understanding. And we're able to do that now, you and I, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are there programs that are going to help you develop that any further at this point? Or have there been programs in your facility that's assisted you with that improvement or that engagement?
Most of the engagement, things like that, I've done through the socialization of dealing with others and having to interact with people that I normally wouldn't interact with.
So you've done that on your own without any formal opportunities, is what I'm understanding.
So there may have been opportunities I might have just overlooked them.
Okay, but they weren't there, right? They weren't there, or you didn't take advantage of it? I didn't understand what you said.
I said a little bit of both. They may have been there. I may have not noticed and taken advantage of them.
Okay. I've noticed that there's been no programming in the last 5 years. Is that correct?
I've taken the anger management course.
I'm sorry, say again?
I'm taking the anger management course.
When was the last time that was available and you participated in that?
That was in 2023 to 2024.
Okay, good. Any other opportunities that you see available to you right now that could continue that progress of communicating, particularly when there's disagreement? What else is available to you right now?
There's nothing else available. I think I'm on the waiting list. That's about it. Our programming sizes aren't very large.
Okay. Okay.
There's just a substantial waiting list.
Do you think? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, and looking through your report, I am curious about large sums of money that you send out into the community, both in terms of how you gain these large sums of money and why you are sending them into the community. And I'm asking this because I believe it's important to make sure that you're not involved in any kind of activity that's going to create more problems for you.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain, please?
I've been blessed enough to have people that cared about me to be able to have money sent in and also money sent out. Majority of the money that you've seen sent out probably these last few years has been my daughter, her going to college and just preparing her for that. And some of it has been just helping her along the way at this point. And Miss Roberts has been kind enough to support me through this entire bid.
So you're primarily sending money to your daughter for college?
Yes, its majority is to family members.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Treatment, substance use disorder treatment has been recommended for you. What are your thoughts about that?
At this point, I thought I would just have to do it at an outpatient program because my initial plan was to be able to do it down at Fairboat when I transitioned down to Median, but that option doesn't seem to be available at this time. So, and I think I wrote St. Cloud asking about their treatment program, but they were saying that it wasn't available to me. It would be easier if I was there. And Stillwater told me to come back in 2030. And now with the recent closing, it looks like that is no longer an option.
So let me ask it a different way. If you could get into substance use disorder treatment, would you take advantage of the program?
I would do it.
Do you think it's needed?
Not very much, but I might be something there that I need that I don't even know I need, though.
Okay. You had, there was in some of the record, I think there was some indication that you had been involved in potentially the distribution of some, maybe some synthetic stuff. Was in part of the disciplinary record?
No, you're talking about with this 2022 situation. They said it was a note that they recovered indicating this, but it never was specified.
Okay. Have you been sober while you've been locked up?
I don't do drugs. The best thing that I gained from being locked up has been to knowing that me being able to think clearly was the best thing that I had going from it.
Okay. So no drugs, you said. So you've not used any kind of chemical substances other than what may have been prescribed at any given time. That's all you've had, all you've been in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have questions for Mr. Boy?
One more, if I may. Your mother made the statement that you're a person who's been stopping fights between other prisoners. Could you describe one of those experiences for me, or how often does that happen, and how do you go about addressing that?
I could say due to my size to a degree, but there was an incident where there was a fight going on, and I clearly saw that the young man was not engaging in this fight. He could not protect himself in no means. And I felt, because I was close enough to the situation and it was right there in front of me, that it was in my best interest to grab the other man and pull him back, and I had to stand in between this fight.
You grabbed the aggressor or the person who is being beaten up?
The aggressor. The aggressor.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair that someone should pick on someone for the fact that they are smaller or weaker than the next person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I share that with you. Did you receive discipline for that type of intervention?
No, because I didn't throw any punches. Discipline came to see me, but they let me go.
Do you see other ways besides, I think physical force is needed at times. Do you see other ways of doing that besides physical force?
Yeah, I've had conversations with people for the same reasons. Sometimes it's just go ahead and sleep on it. You might be emotionally caught up in something right now. You just need somebody to shake you out of it. It's not really something that you can, I guess sometimes you do need outside help to help navigate some of those things.
If I would say that that's been a major source of growth for you while you're in prison, would you agree?
No, because I've kind of always been like this.
I'm sorry, say again?
I'd say no, because I've kind of always been like this.
Okay.
The only thing the growth would have to be that I'm no longer just indifferent.
Okay. Thank you.
I have one just other question. Did you review the psychological report that was done?
Yeah, I did.
What's your thoughts around the risk assessment side of that?
For me personally, I don't agree with it, but there was a lot of things in it that I wasn't even aware. Like there were psychological evaluations, like the 2009 assessment of this. Don't know how to pronounce it, but I was diagnosed, but I was never alerted to any of this stuff. So I learned a lot in this file that was never even told to me.
Okay. So, but you don't agree with the risk assessment? Is that what I'm hearing?
Of me being a high risk?
High risk, yeah.
No, I don't agree with myself being high risk.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Bowie,
Yeah. Go ahead.
In one of the reports, I believe it was comprehensive risk assessment, first of all, congratulations on getting your high school degree at McGinnis High School while you've been incarcerated. It's commendable. I think you also said that you were working on an associate degree. Is that correct?
I've been trying to finish
What
up.
have you done? What have you done in that regard? What effort have you made toward that end?
There haven't been classes available at this time. I've contacted education as soon as I came here and when I was out, and I made it to population. I had asked if there was higher education that might be available, and everything was correspondence. And at this time, I didn't have the funding to support myself with this education. I've been looking into Pell Grants and other avenues to pay for my education at this time.
Also, I think in that same assessment, you denied being angry and distinguished it from being frustrated. How do you see those two concepts relating to one another? Does frustration manifest itself in anger? Do you see any relationship? I know you acknowledged getting frustrated, but you denied that you get angry, and I'm just trying to understand the difference that you see between those two.
Call it frustration instead of anger because I can think myself way through frustration. Anger seems to be a little bit more of a raging type of thing, where it's a non-thinking, it's just an action. And I'm trying not to allow myself to get angry or allow someone to manipulate my emotions to make me act outside of my character most of the time.
Also, I understand at some point, I think it was early on, you went through, you may have started 3, but you completed 2 chemical dependency programs. Is that correct? That was reported.
For my juvenile?
It must have been because I think it was before you were incarcerated.
Yeah, that's outside. Those are outside programs. I did, you said 2 out of 3. Only had 2. Oh, okay. Nope. You're talking about the African Family Services one.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I didn't complete that one. I ain't gonna lie, I was showing out. I was being a bad kid.
What if anything do you recall getting out of those 2 programs that you completed, and how long did the effect of those influence your subsequent behavior?
That hard drugs, that 1,000% dissuaded me from any type of hard drugs of any kind, and I never really had the interest to experiment with drugs like that.
So you took those programs as related to hard drugs, but no other drugs like cannabis or even alcohol or hooch or any of those other?
I had a bad experience with drinking when I was out, and I stopped drinking after that. I never had any other type of drinking involved until I got incarcerated. But yeah, when I was young, I never drank.
Thank you, Mr. Bowie.
Mr. Larson?
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Bowie, you had early on when you were kind of making your case for why you feel as though you're ready to be released, one of the things that you said that struck me was that you've done everything that there is for you to do. Are you referencing like you've participated in all the programming or vocational, or can you just elaborate a little bit more on that statement so that I'm understanding it correctly?
I guess for me, doing everything that I've done that there is for me to do, it's the constant routine. It's the being active in my unit wherever I live with the people that I live around, and being able to, I guess, communicate, support, and deal with them. Because now at this point, I've come up the age where there are guys coming in that they're going through the things that I started out doing, that I had to navigate in the beginning, and being able to kind of tutor or at least mentor a little bit on how to better deal with some of those things instead of having the same type of pitfalls that I did and maybe not learn from the same and not learn, they can learn from my mistakes. That's what I mean by I've done everything that there is, because now it's just seems to be more of an existence, and I'm just going through the monotony of the days.
Okay, that's interesting. Thank you. So my other question. So I know you've not done a lot of institutional programming, and that may be partially due to facilities that you were in. I know COVID really impacted a lot of programming stuff, but I know you said you do a lot of time reading and studying. Is there anything? Is there a particular book or kind of theme of reading that you do that you feel has really been impactful for you?
Honestly, a lot of the books that I started reading, I was trying to understand myself when I first came in, just how to think and how to actually even see myself doing the time that I was doing, instead of being, as Mev said earlier, about just being angry about my time, about being here, and getting over that, getting past that. Ms. Roberts had sent me a lot of books pertaining to people that had gotten out, made something of their lives, did other things, allowing me to know that I had options, that I had choices, but I had to make, couldn't nobody make those choices for me. So I guess.
All right, thank you.
I've read, sorry to elaborate a little bit more, I've read more psychology, sociology, getting better at sociology now, financial management, as well as a lot of self-help books.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Bowie, before the board moves into a discussion and deliberation about next steps, I want to open the floor to you to make one last comment to the board before we close that.
Okay, at this time, I guess I don't think from even what I've read, I don't think I might be the best candidate on paper. So I guess anything with me might be considered taking a risk. But I implore you to at least take a chance on me, for me, one, being as young as I was, being a first-time offender, and this being my opportunity to make something else of myself with I guess you could say, the age that I am, to be able to build from the ground up. Because my employment, I think, with the lack thereof a history, I think it is going to be manual labor to begin with. And I think that might be easier for a younger man versus an older man.
Great, thank you. With that, I'm going to close this portion, and we will open the floor to the board for discussion about next steps. So I would just open it to the floor.
Well, he certainly needs treatment, needs to enter and complete treatment.
Help me understand, or I would appreciate a better understanding of, to be transferred to a facility that had more opportunities, a wider range of opportunities. What's in the way, or how feasible might that be with his present classifications and
Maybe
priorities?
A facility with criminal thinking.
Beg pardon?
Some type of criminal thinking programming.
Yeah, where would that be? And I'm assuming that's more available at some facilities than others. How feasible is the transfer at this point, or at what point might that be available?
I mean, I think that could be done. I mean, we would have cog skills options that would be there at some level. It may not be as frequent, but that would be an option. I think one of the challenges we have is that it was transferred here as a result of some disciplinary conduct, and then we have a pending case in Washington County that we don't know, what that outcome may look like either. So that becomes one of the challenges that we face here. But I think the bottom line is whether it's here or whether it's at another close facility. there are options for him, and that could be looked at.
I think his conduct of 33 disciplinary actions and 66 disciplinary infractions, the most recent being February 25th of this year for smuggling from canteen, speaks volumes, along with his multiple disciplines for assaults, fights, and his intoxicant and use of intoxicants. I tend to concur with the psychological assessment. There's a high risk here unless some of the underlying thinking begins to correlate with his behavior. So I would support a longer period for continuance with encouragement that he remain discipline-free during that time, recognizing that that's going to be significant in reconsidering his status, and that he pursue some of the things he's talked about pursuing, such as higher education, vocational training, treatment for completing his chemical dependency directive, so that then he maintains sobriety. And if, to the extent possible, participate in restorative justice. I think that might help his understanding of the impact.
And the evaluator strongly recommended programming it on criminogenic thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know where that programming is most available now. And if he could get into that, I think that's one of the keys, and also emotional regulation. Perhaps that could be part of the same program.
Yeah, and I think right now we're moving so that the availability of that cog scale stuff would be present at pretty much every facility. The sequencing, some places may have it, multiple groups running, some have less, but that could be looked at as part of the placement option as we go forward here.
Well, and if I understood correctly, I think he had even indicated maybe on a wait list for Decision Points, and Decision Points is a cognitive behavioral program. So I think that's positive.
So for me, I think there's a disconnect between the whole notion of the way things are today, and I think I worry sometimes about the excuse being the environment, because we see a lot of times, and I'm sure Mr. Boy knows men who he's been incarcerated with who have, despite being in a really tough environment, that have done really well and have been demonstrated, a level of leadership and pro-social, not just intervening, which I want to make sure I give credit for, his role in terms of helping stop an issue. But I also, there's that, and then there is, the kind of leadership that we oftentimes see on some of the people that have come before the board that have really done a lot of work. And so that disconnect between what the way he manages his life today and how he sees that happening when he gets into the community, it feels like, well, once I get a job out there, and because I don't want to come back in here, I'm going to be on the straight and narrow. Mm-hmm. And, that jump of being able to say that somehow he's going to be able to do that, it just doesn't, it's not borne out in what's happening here. And yet I want to, give him credit for the work that he has done. And at the same time, be in a place where there's a little bit of a lone wolf kind of orientation here, where I don't hear him being as deeply involved, like from a community standpoint. The programming has been limited because I have been doing a lot of the work myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I also question the fairly recent manufacture of a pretty huge quantity of hooch. That's been only in the last, 4 years? And of course, whenever there is money involved, I do question where it comes from and where it goes. And of course, I'm sure that would be easy for the case manager to check, but a lot of hooch making and methamphetamine, gambling, a lot of those things, and that's been just in a 4-year period.
I'm going to attempt at a motion. Denial of parole at this time. Strong encouragement for continuing to pursue programming opportunities that are available at Oak Park Heights. And I guess my other question with that is the pending cases that may be a blockage to transfer. What time period are we talking about? So you would expect him to have to remain at Oak Park Heights for how long because of the pending cases?
They don't have a court date yet.
And what that means, years from now, months from now? I'm naive here.
They reassigned a new attorney or a new prosecutor or somebody to the case, so it should move now.
So indeterminate at the moment.
Yes.
But that will keep him at Oak Park Heights. And so just take advantage of what's at Oak Park Heights is the one thing that we can look at and monitor here.
Yeah, I think what the key thing is identify the programs or services that you all believe are the things that would aid his advancement toward this. And, we can have the team focus on where that it best happens and how we get him to those services.
One of the biggest keys to custody status is being discipline-free.
Bingo.
He already completed step down, so that's great. So if he can stay discipline-free, that will make a big difference.
So taking one step in that direction has been taken, or the available step is
Definitely discipline-free.
Right.
Absolutely.
helpful.
So we have a motion, but is there a continuance time frame that you're thinking?
I'll say 2 years.
I would second that. It would take 2 years, I would think at least, even if he could enter right now and begin those programming options that we're recommending if they're available, at least 2 years.
Just to be clear, I think the treatment program itself could be 8 to 14 months, depending upon which program he goes into. So that in itself, and then, he has to be in the right place where that treatment is available. And so we'd have to look at that. I think, I'm just being honest, I think 24 months is going to be shy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think you're probably more realistic. I think in two fronts, this is just my sense. One is the practical elements of getting him moved to the right spots and a place, and doing that in accordance with both his demonstrated progress and willingness to kind of participate in some of these programs. But I also just say that, I'm speaking as an individual board member, I also want to see the continued demonstration of the behavior and the integration of the skills that he would pick up on the treatment side. So that's the reason why I think, both the practical elements of just getting him where he needs to be, and started there, and then to, just how do you demonstrate that? I think 3 is more realistic, but I don't, the motion is 2. And so if we have a motion and a second.
Complete the programs, remain discipline-free, to demonstrate change.
I'm going on the assumption that meeting with us can even be encouraging and a push forward. Not avoid the situation, but address it again in a reasonable amount of time. And how can we add to the movement ahead? That's my bias and the basis of my 2 years.
I couldn't support 2 years. I was actually thinking 4 years before Don made his motion. I think he needs a period of time in which he can demonstrate to us. And I mean, we're talking about within the last 6 months, he's had a number of things going on. And I think it's going to be important for him to engage in these programs and then see what the benefit of these programs is. And I think an incentive to him would be for us to say, we want you discipline free, but we want it for a longer period of time than we've seen in the past, which is non-existent. That may be the incentive he needs to engage in some of these programs and complete them.
Could we compromise with 3 and then have the same stipulations, 3 years of zero discipline, complete these programs and demonstrate that his behavior has changed and nothing else on his record in those 3 years?
But I think, Don, your kind of thought is seeing him.
Say again?
Your thought is just seeing him has a benefit, and two, it may not be about him being ready at that stage, but it may be about checking in on progress. Is that what I'm hearing?
Sure. I think how can we be the most constructive influence? And I think interaction here provides that type of constructive influence and momentum. If we say yes or if we say no, we're seeing it happening. We're not seeing it happening. Yeah, that's my bias. Yeah,
I could support 3 years as a compromise, but I couldn't support anything less.
So we have the 2 year out here. We that stands. Unless there would be an interest in modifying it, we could call the vote on the 2 years with the conditions and see where it lands.
I will go 3 years, but my understanding is if there's market improvement, there is the opportunity to request appearance within 3 years or within 2 years if there's something there to show.
That would be something we would have to create as a stipulation. So that would be almost the off ramp where do X and then you could request to be seen earlier. That would be something we would need to put in motion today if we wanted to do that. Make that one of the factors. So am I hearing that you would be willing to do 3 with the off ramp that he could be seen in 2 based on demonstrated progress as determined by him along with his work case manager and team?
Yes. Yes.
So that was a modification of the motion. Are you?
Can we monitor that? The 2 years totally discipline free, total and completion of the appropriate programs, and if that doesn't happen, it would go to 3. I mean, is that something we can really monitor?
It is something we've done before where we put the burden goes to the person, right? So you do X, Y, and Z, then, they meet with their program review team. And then, if they see that demonstrated progress, lack of discipline, then they could come back and see it.
And how about adding on their maintain employment to the extent possible? I do notice that he had a worse than sporadic work history and maintain a good work history. I know sometimes program supersedes that ability to go to work, but work is extremely important and will be a very important part of his adjustment. So if we could add that in there.
I appreciate the delineation. I'm with you. Yes.
Can I ask one question? Just for clarity, is the intent here to allow him to continue to work, for those programs that may or may not be available, and he can reduce his custody in order to go to a close custody facility where there will be additional programming available. Is that the idea during the continuance period? If he earns his custody, if
I
he
think
reduces his custody.
Yeah, I just think that what we should do is set the conditions, the things that he needs to try to do, and then we'll have to work. The team will have to work in terms of figuring out how he gets to where he needs to go. Because otherwise, what happens is you're running up against barriers of points and so forth, and so. But he's going to have to demonstrate the ability to be moved. But we need to get him to where the programs are, I think, at the end of the day.
So I understand his being moved could be independent of what we decide here, but his being moved is based on the behavior he displays today, tomorrow, and the next day where he's at.
Obviously, those are going to play big factors. It's if we have continued misconduct, then it makes it very difficult for us to move him to where that's more accessible. And so that's going to be one of the factors. So there's a motion, and you're comfortable with that modification. You added the work side of this, and we'll spell that out for him. So a motion and a second. Any other thoughts?
Could you just restate the motion?
The motion would be that it would be a continuance for a term of 3 years, with the opportunity to be seen as early as 2 if he petitions through his program review team, case manager, and the facility team, and there is agreement around demonstrated progress toward, I think, the goals that have been spelled out. And I think one of the things, some of those things, the programs were engage in, participate in SUD programming, COG skills, and depending upon where and the when, that's built into some of the SUD parts as well. But he is on a list for COG skills there. Vocational training or higher education opportunities when that becomes available. Maintain a track record of work, and I think the most important here was that he remain discipline free and demonstrate his ability to do that. Those were the elements that I heard.
And it would be up to him to initiate this.
He initiates
if
this.
If he has been able to accomplish this.
Exactly.
And maybe this is implicit in those that you've listed, but programming to improve his emotional awareness.
Yeah, and I think that is built into a lot of that, both the SUD and on the COG skill side is really that's that focus. So
I feel like that's a lot of, I just wanted to comment, like, I feel like that's a lot of conditions, and I don't disagree with any of it, but like it just feels like a lot of conditions. But
I think this is where I think it's going to be really tough. I think the question for me would be, if he was to demonstrate substantive progress or complete, let's say he were able to get into and complete SUD treatment, is that the kind of, is that an element of demonstrated progress that would have, would bring him back, it would seem to me. But to be able to say all of that gets done in 2 years, I agree with you. That's going to be very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So it really is about that substantive demonstration of progress and remaining discipline free. All right. So there's a motion and a second, and with that, I will call the roll. To the motion, Board Member Earhart.
Agree.
Board Member Larson.
yes.
Board Member Ramstead.
Yes.
Board Member Nelson.
Yes.
Board Member Strufert.
Yes.
And Schnell votes yes. And with the caveat that I really want to see the progress. That's it. Otherwise, it just won't happen going forward. But that's the goal. So with that, the motion prevails, and we're moving forward with a denial of parole with the conditions as specified. Mr. Boyd, do you have any questions about the board's action today? You'll get a letter spelling out all the details of this. But do you have any questions that we can answer right now?
Would it be possible to be transferred to the medium facility to accommodate the drug treatment? Because I think St. Cloud is the only place that can accommodate drug treatment. And if that is not available,
no, there's other options. There's other options for treatment, and we'll work with the team to identify where and that might best be accomplished. So, that the placement decision we'll figure out, but there is more than just St. Cloud as an option for SUD. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck to you. Go from there.
Thank you, everyone. All right, we'll move on to the next review, Lamonte Martins.
And he's here.
Smith?
No, Martin.
Martin.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, got it.
Is his advocate on? Okay, perfect. Oh. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rebecca Holmes Larson, Executive Officer of Hearings and Release and the Supervised Release Board. We are here today to review Lamonte Rydell Martin, who is present at the Minnesota Department of Corrections facility in Rush City. Mr. Martin also has his advocate and brother Brian Maston participating today. Here with me at the Minnesota Department of Corrections Central Office is our Commissioner and Chair of the Supervised Release Board, Mr. Paul Schnell, along with board members Jody Nelson, board member Joe Earhart, board member Cheryl Ramstad, board member Don Strufert, and board member Andrew Larson. Our records indicate that on May 3rd, 2006, Mr. Martin and his accomplices were driving in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when they saw Jermaine and Christopher Lynch walking on a street. Mr. Martin and his co-defendant got out of their vehicle with their pistols and began to chase Christopher and Jeremy Lynch on foot. Jeremy Lynch ran to a house, and Christopher Lynch continued to run on foot. Jermaine Lynch then heard multiple gunshots and saw Mr. Martin and his co-defendant shooting their guns at Christopher Lynch. Martin and his co-defendant got back into their vehicle and sped off. Christopher Lynch was pronounced dead at the scene. Mr. Martin was originally sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. That sentence was vacated, and on March 28, 2007, Lamonte Rydell Martin was sentenced to life imprisonment by Hennepin County District Court after having been found guilty of first-degree murder and count 2 crime committed for the benefit of gang, with a sentence of 1 year and a day to be served consecutive to his life sentence. Due to new legislation regarding individuals who were juveniles at the time of their offense, Mr. Martin has the opportunity to be reviewed by the Supervised Release Board after serving a minimum of 15 years incarceration. The board has the authority to address both of these sentences. However, Mr. Martin was also later sentenced to 2 additional adult consecutive sentences for bribery, offer, give, promise to influence witness testimony, which resulted in 57 additional months that are to be served consecutive. These sentences are offenses committed when Mr. Martin was an adult and will not be addressed by the board. Today's review by the board represents Mr. Merton's initial review after serving approximately 18 years of incarceration. His original parole eligibility date on his life sentence is March 26 of 2037. His 15-year minimum eligibility date is March 26th of 2022. Thank you. I turn this matter over to the board. Commissioner?
Good afternoon, Mr. Martin. How are you today?
I'm good. Good afternoon to you too.
I'd like to just start out by asking what it is that you would like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
Well, first, I'd like to acknowledge the reason that we even here for and apologize to Christopher Lynch's family and his daughter. And then as to the question you just asked, I would like to go home. But I know it's a process and it's things that I got to go through to get there.
So you started out by apologizing and taking responsibility for the death of Christopher Lynch. Describe what was happening and your involvement in the offense.
What was happening as to what happened in the crime? Like
the motivation and what happened that day.
That day started off as a regular day. I was driving down the street. I seen him in Jermaine. He reached for his pistol. I stopped the car, jumped out. They ran. I chased them. And the chase went on a couple blocks. They split up. I chased one of them. When I caught up to him, I shot him.
What was the motivation for shooting him at that stage?
The motivation, gang. I was in the gang.
So has the gang stuff been a massive influence in your life? It certainly was at that time, right? But has it been since then?
No, it hasn't been since. But before, yeah, it was a huge part of my life.
What's the demonstration? How have you changed during the time you've been incarcerated? In what ways?
When I came in, I was a child. I was 17. All I really knew is gang stuff. That was my life. That was how I was living when I was out there. Today I'm 36. So just in living life and meeting different people and certain programs, I have grew. You know, I matured a lot since the offense happened. Since I was 17. It's been 20 years.
If you ever had the chance to talk to family members of Christopher Lynch and were to be asked the question, why did you do what you did? What would you say to him?
I would say, like now today, I know it was senseless, but then everything was gangs, the things that I was doing and my environment. Like at that time I had been shot in the head like 8 days before this murder happened. So I was just in a bad place. So I would just apologize to the family, and I know that don't bring them back or don't make it better, but like now today, I know my actions was wrong, but back then I didn't really understand. I was so caught up in what I was caught up in.
Who has and how have people been impacted? Would you imagine people have been impacted by your crime?
How have they been impacted?
Who and how? Yeah.
His whole family. His mother. When I went back to resentencing, his daughter read a victim impact, and that was important to me. Like I didn't know he had a daughter. I really knew nothing about him, but she asked questions as to why her dad and things like that. So I know I tore their family up. My family, my mother, my brothers. I have a child. So yeah, I know. Yeah, I impacted their family and my family in horrible ways.
Okay. What do you feel you owe as a result of your involvement in this offense that resulted in this horrible loss of life? What's your obligation, do you think, on a broader, larger scale going forward?
To be a better person. Yeah, be a better person. Like, okay. I understand. Like what I did, Chris can never come back. In the 20 years that I have spent in here, so like, that's what I think. I got to be a better person and bring joy to life, help others.
Do you remember in November being asked if you would be willing to sign a release of information, that for information that might be able to be shared with victims if they had an interest? Do you remember receiving that?
Yeah.
And
I received it.
And you elected, and you don't have to, and it doesn't have any bearing. But I just wondered, what was your thinking as to why you wouldn't give access to information about what you've done?
No, I wasn't trying not to give access, but in trying to prepare for this, this is a huge thing, and so trying to prepare for it, I misplaced the paper because I have a lot of stack of papers, and I just misplaced the paper. But yeah, that's why I didn't send it in. I could never find it, but that's the only thing as far as to going through this process that I didn't complete.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna turn it to your brother here quickly, just to ask him to provide us with some insights and thoughts on the changes he's seen in you over the course of time, and then we'll open it up to all the board members to ask questions of either one of you. So thank you so much for being here today and support of your brother, Mr. Maston, and I'll open the floor to you.
I appreciate you having me here. So the biggest thing I've seen in Lamonte is his accountability, right? When he came in here, 17, 18, he was under the stage where he wanted to say he didn't do it, right? They got the wrong guy, right? Almost taking a victim approach. He don't understand why he's here, right? From me talking to him over the years, he understands that there's a victim in the Lynch family, right? Our family, his life, right? So the biggest thing that I've seen is his growth, his accountability. He's remorseful. He's cried over the phone. Monty has grown a lot, honestly, right? He's the baby. He's our baby brother, right? So he has 3 older brothers, right? So he's always been catered to, right? He's been growing as far as helping out with his son, right? He just sent his son out to prom. He never went to prom, right? Because of his actions, him not going to school, things like that. But he's grown. So the number one thing that I've seen from Monty is his accountability, right? And his growth as a man, right? His vision, the things that he want to see happen for his life and other people's life. You asked him a couple questions that he didn't really expand on as far as his youth, right? When he was 17 years old. So me and Monty is 3 years apart, right? I was in college when this happened. He only had about a year of actually gangbanging, right? So as far as him having a big impact in the gangs, not so much, ask me, right? I just think as a youth, he was misguided, right, for a short period of time that has cost him his life, right? So the biggest thing about Lamonte that I feel is he just needs a chance to prove and show who he is. He's a good guy that made bad choices, that needs to sit down for his action because there is a victim here.
Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
And I would just open it up to other board members with any questions for either Mr. Martin or his brother. I just have one. Can you just talk a little bit about you had discipline in last year, and it was related to a fight. What was that about?
It was about it was an older dude around my age. He was just he was picking on somebody that was like 19, fresh in prison, don't really know too much about it. So that's what the fight was about. I was defending somebody that he was picking on.
Right thing to do?
Nah, I wouldn't say it's the right thing to do. It was wrong for sure. I was going through a lot. My father had just passed away. So I had a lot on my mind. But it wasn't the right thing to do at all.
Okay. Have you had much in the way of treatment for assessment related to the TBI side of the traumatic brain injury stuff during the course of your incarceration?
No.
Mr. Martin, have you, I understand you have a treatment directive, is that correct?
Yeah.
Have you taken steps to try to get signed up for treatment? Or is that something you're interested in?
Yeah, I'm interested in it. I applied for the treatment program in Stillwater like maybe a year and a half ago, but they told me I had too much time.
Okay. You had mentioned earlier that you've participated in some programs and doing groups, and I think even the psychological report mentioned that your program participation has really increased since about 2023. That you started becoming more active. What changed then?
What changed? Knowing I got an opportunity to go home. At first, I didn't have no opportunity, so I was kind of lost. I came in 17, and I had life without parole. And then, out of nowhere, a new law came, and it gave me hope. At first, I didn't have no hope.
So it was driven by the legislative change more so than something internal?
I won't say internal that I wasn't changing. It's just in here, kind of go day to day. Like not having hope. It changes. It's tough. Like, of course, I feel that I'm supposed to be in here for what I did. But the unknown is hard sometimes. So sometimes not knowing what tomorrow gonna be, sometimes bad choices was made. And I made a lot of bad choices.
Yeah, no, and I get that, and I appreciate that, and honestly, I appreciate your honesty in answering the question that way. So my last question, I understand, I think you've been through the restorative justice programming.
Yeah.
Is that right? Been through RJ 101. What did you take from that?
It was the class was it was a good experience. I got to see it from the other side as far as the victims. So that was real good because I didn't really understand certain things. So going to that class, it gave me a different perspective on other than just mine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Possibly I'm going beyond the purview of the group here. I'm scared when I hear the number of guns available on the street. And it's almost some areas that seems more evident than others. But it scares me for the safety of me, my family, and my grandchildren. What I learned from restorative justice and from sitting on this board is that you, your brother, and I have to do something to change that. What could we do together? Or is that's an obligation I feel? Is it something we can share together?
You want me to speak?
I won't.
Want me to speak or you got it? So from the outside, right? The biggest thing that me, you, and Lamonte all share is with me, starting where Lamonte, I can I'm the bridge. I can speak to Lamonte clearer than you can, right? And you can talk clearer to me than you can to Lamonte, right? Because we share different walks of life. Like I can talk to Lamonte and tell him, hey, look, this isn't what we're doing. This is why we're not doing it, right? You have a better way of getting things done than picking up a weapon, right? And then you being an older gentleman, you can tell me living and raising your family and the impact that these guns have in these communities. So for all three of us, we just need to come together and have more communication, right? We got to collide our worlds. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like you have fear of guns, right? We have the same fear of guns.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you're young, 17, gang banging, guns are everything. That's your freedom. That's your power. Right? Maybe you didn't grow up in a community where you needed to protect yourself from peers. Lamonte did. Mm-hmm. So the communication you can have with Lamonte is important. We need people like you to talk to people like Lamonte and not be scared.
And
we need to bridge together.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, Lamont.
Lamonte, any comments?
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel, just as you scared of guns, I am too. When I was a youth, I was 17, I was gangbanging. But now, as a man, 36, I want to live. Like, I didn't understand living then. So now, I don't want to die. I want to enjoy life and be a productive person out there. I want to do restorative justice things when I get out. I want to help the kids. Some of the violence and some of the things that I was out there doing, I want to help. Because I was part of that problem.
Thank you. Being on this board, I think it's given me an opportunity and an introduction to having these conversations. I look forward to more opportunity to talk with both of you about it if and when it ever happens, or how can that happen. But thank you.
Thank you too.
This, you, when you committed your offense, obviously you fired the fatal shots, the shots that took the life of your victim. Do you have any, in retrospect, why was it that he had to be shot as many times as he did? 13 times, I think, is what I read somewhere in here. Why that?
It was more so me, not him. I was angry. I had been shot in the head in January, and then I was shot in the head again April 25th. And this happened on May 3rd. So when it happened, it wasn't all to do with them. I was triggered, but ultimately it was me. I had a lot of anger in me from what was going on with myself.
You said you weren't associated with Mr. Lynch, but was this a gang retaliation shooting?
Yeah.
And did you intend to shoot someone else, or was Mr. Lynch really your target?
No, it was Jermaine, the other one. He's a Lynch too. It was the other one, not Christopher.
Did you know it was Christopher you were shooting?
Yeah.
And did you feel that would be retaliation enough?
No, I didn't even think that deep. It was more out of anger.
And what did you do after the shooting?
After the shooting, I left, went and sat, thought about it. Police was looking for me. So yeah, that's what I did. Knew I was gonna go to jail.
When you came to prison, did you continue to be affiliated with the gang that you were involved with?
Yeah, when I first came, I was still pretty much the same person. I still was angry. So yeah.
Well, how and why, maybe when did you disassociate yourself, if you did?
No, I did. Just the more I got older, growing in prison, I started learning different things, and a lot of the decisions that I was making was really like misguided decisions. Like, now today, like, I understand what I was doing was wrong. At the time, when I did it, I didn't really put no thought in it because it was everyday kind of living. That's kind of what was going on. So yeah, as more time went on, I learned more about myself, and I kind of learned that the gang thing ain't even a real thing. You know, it's not about nothing. You know, you do what you do, but For what? Most of the things that we do is like about our pride and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's for no real reason. So we just destroying, messing up people's families, messing up our families. And at the end, it really amounts to nothing. And I learned that over time. So that's why, I don't gangbang. I don't believe in it anymore.
Good insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin, I am interested in your associating your gang activity and your being involved in this offense with being young and coming to prison when you were 17, is that right?
Yep.
But then I see that some of your behavior years later was to attempt to bribe. You were found guilty of bribing.
Yep.
Three other inmates, is that right, to recant their testimony in the case that you were convicted of?
Yep.
And that's what those convictions are for, that are consecutive to the current sentence that you're serving?
Yep.
And how many years after you were in prison were those charges? Were they 6 years after?
It started in 2009. So it started 3 years after I came in. And then I was ultimately charged in 2012, October.
Okay, then I'm also looking at the assault on an officer where you broke a chair over an officer's head, is that right?
No, inmate.
An inmate's head?
Yeah, inmate. Yeah, not officer.
And that was after you'd been in prison for 12 years, is that right?
Maybe a little longer. It happened, something like that.
So it would seem that as you aged, your tendency toward violence didn't disappear. There were at least 2 instances where you demonstrated it after you were in prison, right? Pretty serious offenses.
2 and 20 years. The one with the chair, I was defending myself. Somebody that 6'6" punched me. That's what that was. And then the last one is what just happened last year. So I got 2 fights in 20 years.
Well, I noticed that the program review team with whom you interviewed on May 1st, 25, commended you for your honesty and sincerity, and I commend you on that too, but I'm concerned about the behavior that I've just described that happened after you were sent to prison and after you'd aged, which were factors that you said caused you to reform your behavior.
So, am I not supposed to defend myself if I'm being attacked? None of those instances I started. That report, I was walked up and I was punched. So what was I supposed to do?
Wasn't there some sort of a hearing on the assault with the chair? I know that you were disciplined and you had a chance to present your case to somebody in that context and they found that you were at fault. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any further questions. Thanks, Mr. Martin.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, did Mr. Lynch say anything when you caught up with him or as you were shooting him?
When I caught up with him, he threw his hands up as if I was robbing him. That's it. It wasn't. We didn't have a conversation or nothing else. Nope. I shot.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Mr. Martin, before we go into a board discussion and deliberation about next steps, I want to open the floor to you to make one last statement to the board prior to us breaking off into that discussion.
Okay. I would just like to say, I hope you and the rest of the board see me for who I am in more than just words on a paper. Because within that 20 years, I did all different types of dumb stuff and things wrong, and just growing from being a child to being a man. So it's a lot of mistakes that's made. I don't really focus on my past too much. I try to just be better for the future, be better for the mob. And I'd like to take the time to apologize to the family again. I extend my deepest apology, and I know nothing I say can bring them back, but I'm sorry. It was something senseless. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And with that, I will close this portion of hearing and open the floor to the board to discuss observations, next steps, or thoughts about how we proceed.
So I have a question, Commissioner. So he's got these two other charges that's about five more years. Two of those added together.
Yeah, 54, 57 months, whatever that was.
57 months. Is that, so for example, if we were to parole today on the current sentence, he's looking at 5 years. Do I have that? Am I understanding that correctly?
He would have, he really has two sentences right now that are that the second one is collapsible, right? So that the board would have the authority to grant supervised release on an underlying offense, and could also collapse in that 1 year and a day sentence that he has related to this course of conduct. And then he would be subject to 2/3 of the time on the 54 or 57 months, whatever that was. So you'd have 2/3 of that to serve.
So I'm not mathing all that right now, but I kind of get it. My feeling is I would like to see him stepping down in a period of time that would allow him to complete treatment, which I think he's interested in as well, get vocational training. He's interested in HVAC, do more on his work plan, write the apology, get involved in that sort of stuff. So vacation, discipline free for a period of time, all that time, and treatment wherever that can happen.
And did it say that he wasn't eligible to enter treatment until 2 years for release? Is that?
That's the way it is. I mean, historically has been, but these are the cases that we're trying to work through because of the change in the law, the eligibility. We want to try to make sure that when they come up before the board, they are actually in a place where they could be there. And so we're still working that backlog here.
And he has some illicit substance charges here while he's been in, just in the last couple of years. It would be good if he could enter treatment now, begin that, complete it, do aftercare. I can't remember what else was recommended for him.
I think it was a lot of the things that Jody had mentioned, just as part of that too.
And then working more on his plan. Yeah.
And
he's got some good community connections in terms of Reverend McAfee's work and Emerge, both in North Minneapolis. That'd be solid connections for the good that he wants to do in the community.
And it does seem that he has considerable insight, and I'm taking a lot of that from the report, more so than what we heard today. Could we say entering complete treatment and see him again in 2 years? Would that be reasonable?
I'm just trying to think. This is where it gets really tight time frames, because it could take
to get him in.
Yeah, to move, because it's going to be very, probably a move, and then you get him there, and then get him into the unit and that kind of stuff. So that's where it could take 6+ months by the time you're
to get
fully
in,
there
and then
when
the
you're starting.
aftercare as well.
Yeah, and then you're starting, depending upon which program he goes into. That's where it gets to be tough. So,
well, could we do like a contingency that we would see him again in 2 years, contingent upon his completing treatment and aftercare?
What I'm hearing is it's not likely to happen within that
It's
time.
not likely. The programs are not able to get them in.
From my understanding, it will be really tight. Treatment is typically 18 to 24 months in some programs. I mean, each program is a little different. There's pre-treatment and there's aftercare in addition. So,
well, then would 3 years be reasonable for treatment, aftercare, getting in?
I'm trying to compare this to the previous one.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Because I'm concerned about the fact that, there is some levels of similarity in terms
There
of
are
where,
some,
where
but
they
I'm
are.
seeing just a lot more insight here.
I absolutely agree with you.
There's also
here.
the risk assessments.
Yeah.
Not comparable.
Right. No, it's very different at this. And so that's why I'm thinking about, we're having a conversation here about 3. And we did 3 with the off ramp on the other one. That's the only thing I'm thinking about, is just, is there a consistency, especially given the fact that, Mr. Martin probably is, in my view at least, probably further along.
With insight and
He
all the
has
programs that he's been a part of.
Yeah, and sounds like he's working regularly and, for lack of a better word, conforming at this point.
Taking responsibility. Would you be comfortable with 30 months?
I mean, I'm comfortable. I guess I feel as though, just if we were in a position to approve the last guy for the 36 with the 2-year off ramp, or whatever, the team coming back together, then I feel like that would be unfair not to give that opportunity here, just given the fact that he does, I think, have greater insight than the first person, and yet
and stability
and more stability. And yet, I guess just for purposes, I'm just going to make a motion just to try and package this. I would deny parole, continuum for 36 months, with the ability to be seen early, based on completion, at least of the primary treatment component, as SUD treatment, and remaining discipline free. Those would be the conditional things, and then he would petition the team to be seen early if he has done that. And I would add other conditions, other things I'd like to see him do, but not make it contingent upon being seen early. And that would be, engage in, identify and engage in vocational training to the extent that that's possible. Really dig deep and begin the work on release planning. Some of that would happen through treatment as well. I would like to see, him engage in that, apology letter workshop, because I think, he talks about this desire to express his apologies for his involvement in this offense. So I would like to see that as well. So I guess those are would be the other things, but being seen early would really be conditioned upon successful completion of the primary component of treatment.
So that would depend upon him.
On him, and he would bring that forward to his team.
I second that motion.
There's a motion and now a second. Any further discussion?
My understanding that next time we see him, we'd still have that opportunity to deal with the consecutive sentences.
Yeah, he would be. He could, we could collapse that first consecutive sentence. Yeah,
that opportunity is not going to be dismissed. Is available at a later date.
Right.
And that distinguishes it from the previous case we addressed, because there was no conviction there at this point.
Yeah, no, he has not a different consecutive sentence that he is certain.
Okay. I'm with it. Let's go.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Not hearing any other discussion, I'll call the roll on the vote. To the motion, Board Member Earhart.
Yes.
Board Member Larson.
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead.
Yes.
Board Member Nelson.
Yes.
Strufert.
Yes.
And Schnell votes yes. So the motion prevails. So, Mr. Martin, you've had the chance to hear the entire conversation, and the thoughts that we have. We will get a letter off to you with all of the details of this, and HRU, and we'll work with your team there to begin that process of identifying the right place for you to get what you need in accordance with the plan that we put in place. Any questions about any of this?
No, just thank you for the opportunity.
No, and we really, I would just strongly encourage you to dig deep, do the hard work, engage in this, and so that when you come back, the conversation can really be focused on what that future may look like, recognizing still that you do have those other consecutive sentences. But I think getting started first with getting through this will be really important. All right?
Yeah,
Good luck to you, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you all.
All right.
City, if you want to just mute the room while you switch out and bring in Mr. Griffin.
I'll see if they're ready.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead if you want to people want to take a quick break to do that.
Oh.
Okay, can you hear us at Rush City?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rebecca Holmes Larson, Executive Officer of Hearings and Release of the Supervised Release Board. I'm here today to review Mr. Gary Griffin Jr., who is present at the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Rush City. Mr. Griffin Jr. also has his advocate and wife, is it Starnisha? Starnisha, thank you very much. Mrs. Starnisha Griffin participating as well. Here with me at the Minnesota Department of Corrections Central Office is our Commissioner and Chair of the Supervised Release Board, Mr. Paul Schnell, along with board members Joe Earhart, Andrew Carlson, Cheryl Ramstead, Juvenile Expert Member Jody Nelson, Juvenile Expert Member Donald Struford. Our records indicate that on January 21st of 2011, at approximately 9:52 p.m., Gary Griffin Jr., Liddell Johnson, and Lourdes Stewart planned to commit a robbery in Minneapolis in Hennepin County. Stewart asked a known drug dealer, Stanley Curtis Rogers, to pick her up at her residence. After the drug transaction was complete, they pulled the vehicle into the alley to drop off Stewart. At that time, Griffin and Johnson approached the driver's side of Rogers' vehicle. Griffin Jr. produced a handgun and pointed at Rogers. Rogers put the vehicle in gear and attempted to drive away. But Griffin Jr. then shot the victim multiple times. Mr. Griffin Jr., Johnson, and Stewart immediately fled the area. Mr. Stanley Curtis Rogers Sr. died at the scene. On January 27th of 2012, Gary Tyrone Griffin Jr. was sentenced to 40 years imprisonment by Hennepin County District Court after having been found guilty of second-degree murder. He was also sentenced to 24 months concurrent for first-degree aggravated robbery. However, this sentence was later vacated after expired. Due to new legislation regarding individuals who were juveniles at the time of their offense, Mr. Griffin Jr. now has the opportunity to be reviewed by the Supervised Release Board after serving a minimum of 15 years incarceration. Today's review by the board represents Mr. Griffin Jr.'s first review after serving approximately 14 years of incarceration. His original confinement release date is September 28th of 2037. His 15-year minimum eligibility date is January 27th of 2026. Thank you. I turn this matter over to the board. Commissioner?
Good afternoon, Mr. Griffin. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'd like to start out by asking you to tell the board what it is you'd like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
Before I answer that question, I was wondering if it's okay if I could actually read something to the family first, because I wrote something and I want to read.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
To the family and friends of Stanley Rogers, for the longest time I have wanted to reach out to all of you, but I have struggled to find the right words to express my condolences. However, I would sincerely like to send my deepest apologies to all of you for taking the life of Stanley. There's not a day that has gone by where I haven't thought about you, his family and friends, and the pain I have caused. At 17 years old and making the choices I've made regarding drugs and alcohol, I thought of myself as a man supporting my family during a rough time. I now know those decisions back then were a mistake, and I won't make any excuses for my actions. I can only hope moving forward that you will someday forgive me and know that I have been working extremely hard to have a positive effect in the lives of the people around me and in my community in the future. I know these things take time, but I have taken many steps forward to help me fulfill what I must be done to allow me to atone for my actions. The last 14 years, I had time to find unknown tools to help transform my life through programs like Restorative Justice, House of Healing, and Thinking for a Change. I have also found Islam and accepted God into my life. There are many mentors, both in here and outside, which have helped me to know what accountability means and how to apply it to my life. These experiences have profoundly taught me the importance of taking full responsibility for ending the life of Stanley, and by also engaging in conversations that start the process of healing. Together, these principles have not only helped me confront my past, but have equipped me with the tools to assist others. My goal moving forward is to help others find the strength within themselves to seek redemption, make amends, and pursue positive change in their own lives. I truly am sorry for the damage I have done to your family, and I know that I cannot change what happened, even though I wish that I could. I just pray and hope, if not now, one day in the future, your family will find it in your hearts to forgive me. I truly do apologize.
Thank you. So now I'll have you turn to what it is you'd like to see happen today.
I would like to see me transition to a medium facility so I can complete my drug treatment.
Can you just talk through your change over the term of your incarceration? In what ways have you changed?
I changed a lot. I think I just finally came to my, when I first came to prison, it was a little difficult for me. I didn't really know how to cope. I didn't know how to do time. So I didn't know how to actually be myself. And so I was getting involved with a whole bunch of things in prison, just like I was a kid coming in prison, man. So I was doing a whole bunch of things. And one day in 2019, I just got tired. I got tired of doing the same thing. I started to realize that I'm not just letting myself down, I'm letting my family down. I keep on coming to the hole. I keep on doing things, and I have nothing to show for it. And it's just, I got tired of living like that. One day my niece had told me, she had asked me, why do I stay in trouble? And it's crazy because I don't get in that much trouble. So when she said it, I was kind of taken back a little bit, but it kind of hurted me as well and stuff too. And I just decided that I had to get my life together from right then and there. I know what I had to do, and I had a lot of changes that I had to do, and that's what started my process on changing my life.
And so what have those changes been?
I separated myself from the gang life. I told my friends that I don't want to participate in a lot of activities no more. I decided I wanted to try programs to see what they got to offer for me, just to see how it is as well. Stop getting in trouble, just start listening more and just paying attention to things better.
Why should the board and even more broadly the community trust that you are no longer a threat to public safety?
For all the things that I did accomplish, for all the things that I'm trying my hardest to be better than what I am, I'm trying my best to I participate in so many events out there just to help kids get in basketball, get in schools, and I just try my hardest to just give back to my community. And I just feel like, just try to trust me.
What kind of services or supports do you think you could benefit from? You already talked about treatment, but beyond that, whether it's inside or outside, that you think are going to be critical to your success going forward?
The mosque that we have lined up. I will be going to the mosque, talking to the imam a lot. We actually got the health behavior center for the therapy, so I want to participate in therapy as well. So I got a lot of support when I get down to that right there. I'm really going to be in the mosque a lot because I want to participate with a lot of things that the mosque have, that they help people. They help people with. They just help children. They help people, poor people, and I really want to participate in that. So I got them to lean on as well and stuff too.
Okay. What do you feel? How well established or solid do you feel around, vocational skills, those sorts of things, as you look at the prospect of a potential release?
Could you say that one more time?
Just, how solid do you feel around your vocational training and, your ability to take whatever job skills you've developed and make you more employable as you get into the community?
I feel good about it. Like I'm a fast learner. I love to do things. So like I feel good about that. I feel that I can be great when I get down to that right there.
Have you done much vocational training while you've been in?
Far as like what's the name of that?
Painting and decorating.
Like painting and decorating and stuff like that? Is that what
painting,
you're talking
decorating, about? Any of the vocational programs that you might be able
No,
to access.
I haven't participated in none of those. I tried to sign up for I forgot the name of this program that they have here. It's a 4-month program, but when I wrote them, they told me that I have to have less than a year to actually participate. It'll take longer for me to get on heavy machinery. I tried to do that.
Oh, heavy machinery, yep.
Yeah. But they told me I had to wait a year, so I never tried to do nothing besides that right there.
Okay. All right. I'm going to open the floor first to your wife here. Thank you so much, Ms. Griffin, for being here today. And I want to open the floor to give you the opportunity to weigh in, and then we'll open the floor to all board members to ask questions of either you or your husband.
Thank you guys for having me today. I'm happy to be here. I am absolutely nervous. I actually have a lot to say. Am I just free to say what I want?
Yep. The floor is open to you. Yes.
I would like to say that I know that my husband is a little nervous, probably more nervouser than me. So there's a lot of things that I feel that he left out. For one, I can't fully speak for who my husband was during his crime or during the few beginning of his stages of being incarcerated. But I can speak for the man who he is today. Before I do that, I would like to also give my deepest condolences to Mr. Rogers' family as well. I feel that my husband has absolutely changed a lot from the conversations that we've had, from the discipline actions that he's had from the beginning, starting till now, since we've been in each other's life. I feel like he has grown a lot as far as communicating. Yes, he did remove himself from the friends and the gang members that he was associated with, which was really hard for him because, as we all know, just because you decide to change doesn't mean the world around you does. He has done things to people that they might not forgive him for, and just because you decide today you want to pick up a Quran, that doesn't mean that they still don't have a problem. So that was something very hard for my husband to adjust to, and I think that he does very well with that. My husband helps inmates resolve conflicts within each other. That was something that he didn't mention. He hold Islamic studies with some of the inmates. We have study over the phone. He does his classes. He feel like he's thinking for a change. He has that really helped him a lot. Think about, him taking accountability, about his actions, just thinking more about how things affected not only him, but our life, our future, his family, his nieces. We do have, I have 3 children that we have as a whole now because we are a family. I do have a 3-year-old whose father has never been active, that my husband plays a huge role in her life. That's all she knows. We have things set up as far as behavioral health, also extra anger management things out with the Partner Manipulated Family and Health. I myself do therapy, as I wrote in my support letter, that I am a restorative special practice at the Brooklyn Center Community School. So we're teaching the same thing that the restorative class is actually teaching inside of the facility. And I feel like even coming home with me having those aspects and different views of life will help my husband also on the way. I feel as if that my husband deserves a second chance. And I would like for you guys to look at him for who he is now and not for what's presented on the paper. You know, I know he's not perfect. I'm not perfect. And yeah, I got a lot more to say, but I don't want to ramble. But I'm open to questions that you guys will have for me. Oh, actually, I got one more thing. We really, really want my husband to come home. He has a family. I feel as if I can't fully start my life until my husband is there with me, but we make the best of what we have now and we just plan for the future. We do also plan to move into a different state and start a new family, start our family there. I wouldn't say that we're moving because we're just fully running from anything. Because if we were to stay here, I feel like we could build a happy family here. I just feel like a fresh air would be great, you know, for us to start fresh. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. You did a great job. Despite your nervousness, you did quite well. So with that, I'm going to open it to the board to ask any questions of either Mr. or Ms. Griffin.
Let me start this way. In the written material and what you've talked about today, I've heard the words trust. I've heard the words, or at least the impression of redemption and forgiveness. Could you talk a little bit more about how is that important for you? How do you experience that? Maybe both as a couple, as a parent, as somebody moving towards a transition. Trust, redemption, forgiveness, please.
Can you repeat that again?
Say again?
Can you repeat that again, the question?
Can you talk about your experience with trust, redemption, forgiveness?
Yes, absolutely, I can. You want to go first?
Yeah, forgiveness is really important to me because I learned I didn't know really how to forgive other people at first. I learned how to forgive myself. It took me a long time to actually do that. And so by me doing that, I do know forgiveness is very important, and I'm very nervous. And I am. And trust is big for me. Me and my wife, we have these type of conversations all the time because, like, I do have a past. I did things where people shouldn't trust me. I understand that wholeheartedly, you know, and I try my hardest and I continue to work. No matter how people look at me, I continue to work to try to better myself as a man. And so I try to dish out trust because I do want people to trust me. It's kind of hard. People like, you know, to know that people don't trust you because you get judged off your past. I was 17. I made a lot of mistakes growing up, a lot. I didn't have a perfect little lifestyle, you know? And I just try to better myself now. I strive for it. I work hard for it. And no matter how people look at me or view me, I'm going to continue to try to work and strive for it continuously. I know what I've done. I acknowledge that I'm wrong. Can't make it right. But I try to give back to my community. I try my hardest to just show I'm not my case. I'm a man. I'm a human being. I made mistakes. Some mistakes is bigger than others. Mine was obviously big. And I truly do apologize for that, but it's big on me because I want people to trust me. I strive for it because I'm a different man. I am. And I want people to see that, and I want people to know me for me. So it's very important to me. Very.
For me, it's kind of a little bit the opposite. Trust and forgiveness. And honesty is very important to me. I'm a very genuine person, and I'm an empath, so I kind of feel what other people feel. I am very expressive. I don't really know how to hold my emotions in, and that was something new for my husband because he keeps everything in. So he was amused that I'm so expressive and I can just say so much and I know how to use my words so well. And he was kind of closed off. And so for me, it was me gaining his trust, you know? So you want me to trust you, so you also have to trust me that I'm going to protect you, that I'm here for you, that I'm here to support you, and that I'm not the past that you have dealt with, you know? So for us, yeah, it has been, well, for me, I'm okay. I want to give my husband a chance because I love everything about love and trust, and I give you a chance to be you until you show me that you aren't, and then we'll go from there. And I feel like my husband has always been upfront with his emotions and how he feels and how he has a problem with trusting. And like I said, those classes have helped him a lot with expressing himself, expressing his words, how he feels, his emotions, and knowing that expressing yourself doesn't make you weak or it doesn't make you afraid. It makes you more of a man than anything, because you're not afraid of those emotions, and you need those emotions in the real world, because shutting down isn't going to get you anywhere. Whether it's a disagreement or it's an agreement, you got to agree to disagree. But yes, trust is a good thing, and I feel like we both have learned and taught each other how to forgive and how to trust, and our different ways of trusting and communicating, because yeah, everybody's different.
I have a question for Mr. Griffin. Could you tell us what you've done in terms of along the lines of restorative justice and what you've done to gain emotional awareness about how the victims' families were impacted?
I don't know how to really answer that question. Could you
rephrase it?
Could you rephrase it for me a little bit?
I'm talking about restorative justice, empathy, victim impact, and I'm wondering what you've done to have a better understanding about the victims' families' pain and suffering, how you have tried to make amends, if you have, what you think about how they must have suffered all these years.
Well, yes, I actually thought about that a lot, and I continue to think about that. That's the reason why I wrote an apology letter in 2020. I always think about the family. I lost people too, so I understand how it feels when somebody gets stripped away from you. And it's kind of hard for me to speak for them, but I know it's painful, and I know it's hurt, and I know it's hard, and I know that's something that they probably won't ever even get over. You know, and I just try my hardest to just continue to just. I do understand how they feel. I can't speak no more about that. I do understand how they feel, and I try to reach out to them. I try to just let them know that I truly am sorry for what I've done. There's nothing that I can say. There's nothing that I can do to change the event that happened. But I do understand, and restorative justice. It helped me a little bit more with that as well and stuff too. But I was already in a process of understanding about forgiveness and all of that before restorative justice as well. Like, I feel sorry for the family. It makes me emotional now, because it's like it's one of the hardest things that I have to do right here is just speak about it. Like, for so long I never spoke about it because I tried to hide it. For no reason. I tried to hide it. I didn't know how to accept it. I didn't know how to accept the truth. And when I accepted the truth, I tried my hardest to reach out to the family to let them know I understand. I truly apologize, and I continue to keep doing the same thing.
Mr. Griffin, I've got a question for you. In your materials, when you were young and in South Minneapolis and running the streets, you had the awareness that you were, and this is your quote, dying for acceptance.
I was.
And I'm wondering, yeah, that really struck me. And I'm wondering if your journey into Islam, if you're experiencing that acceptance that you have been looking for.
No, I'm not accepting. I'm not only acceptance I'm looking for now is just God and my family. I'm not looking for no more acceptance from friends and how people look at me and how people view me. Like, back then, I was looking for that. I felt like, in my heart, I felt like I didn't have that at home. And that meant a lot to me, not having that at home, especially like when I actually really wanted that. And so getting the attention from the people that's around me felt good, and I wanted that. But as I get older, I see where it got me, and it got me nowhere looking for somebody's acceptance. So I taught myself things, I studied, I learned, and only acceptance I'm looking for is the Creator and my family. I'm not looking for nobody else's acceptance.
Yeah, my question, maybe I didn't say it loud enough, but when you talked about being at the mosque, that sounded to me like that's where you're going to be accepted.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But that's absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Just one, you wrote in your letter, and I think then you talked about being bitten is kind of the framework you talked about, right?
Yeah, it's a podcast.
And I was struck by, some of the themes there, right? I understand that the being sentenced to prison can be very difficult and challenging. And as you've seen, there are people who, do very well. They become those leaders and really are a part of helping to set and create a more positive culture. There was things that in here that I see this push and pull and I guess I'm just wondering, as you talk about this notion of bitten, and especially the second I in there, is it talked about incarceration, and it really at that point in time the focus is on unfair, unapologetic justice system and that kind of stuff. Is that the circumstance that you face, that you are where you are because of an unfair and unapologetic justice system?
Absolutely not. I'm not starting that podcast by myself. It's actually a few of us in this facility that's actually starting this podcast. So we have a couple people that is innocent. I don't know nothing about their cases. So like we just going off of what everybody experienced, So like that's how we got all of that in one. Like it wasn't just my feelings and just how I felt. It was we all came together. We all was putting things together. Okay, this is how he felt. This is how we felt. So we put it together. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about, And that's kind of where that part came in from.
Okay. If you're not doing very well, if things are not going very well for you, how does it manifest? What does it look like to people around you?
If I'm not really doing well at something, I'm not afraid to ask for help for something. So like it's not I don't walk around just not doing well and people just I don't really know. Like I ask for help. If I'm going through something, I got people in here that I actually speak to, that I get things off my chest with, that we can have conversations. So I always let things go. I don't just walk around like that.
Okay. Your wife said something that's not surprising to me, and it just she talked about how she will talk about things that put it out there and those sorts of things, and you tend to be more quiet, and that may not be any different than some gender stuff that sometimes men may be more hold back, but do you ever find yourself in a spot where you might withdraw from other people if you're struggling?
Sometimes I do, but when I do things like that, I just read. I read a lot, and I pray. I do things like that, but sometimes I do. It's difficult in here.
how do you think you're seen? And I think if you were to, by the people who you're incarcerated with, who know you, know of you, have been around you, how are you seen or regarded by people in the population?
Well, I'm the imam for the facility, so I'm like the head of all the Muslims in this facility. So like I'm viewed as a good person. Like I'm always fair, I'm always honest. From the inmates to the COs, like the COs give me compliments of my change that I have. I feel like I'm seeing great. I feel like I'm seeing good. And they always acknowledge that for me.
And it sounds like you believe that you started out by saying you really would like to be able to move forward, get to that treatment stuff, I think is one of the things you had mentioned, right?
Yes.
And so that you can move forward. All right. That's all I have. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'd like to follow up on that. Wanting to move forward, and I believe, or I understand you expect to spend some more time within the system. What do you hope to accomplish? What are your goals in this next stage of living within the DOC?
Well,
what do you want to accomplish before getting out? Maybe is another way of putting it. Yeah.
I wanna accomplish my drug treatment and get it out the way. And while I'm down there, I will look into like more classes that they have to offer me, whether if it's learning things about the world like technology, or I was looking into what's the name of it? Computer
Cable and network.
That cable and networking. I was looking into that. So like I'm gonna venture off and try to see what other things I can do to accomplish as well. I don't know what's down there in the medium facilities. So, but I'm looking to accomplish a couple things. Like I really want to learn about technology. That's important to me. So I guess them are the things I'm trying to accomplish.
Thank you. Sounds good.
Anything else, question-wise?
I do got one.
I was just going to...
Go ahead, Andrew.
No. Sorry. And I think you actually did kind of touch on this, but I'll ask the question anyways. And I think you have kind of addressed the point I was going to raise. Within the comprehensive or the psychological report, there was something in here indicating that you, and maybe I misunderstood it, but it indicated that you weren't really interested in engaging or involved or becoming involved in vocational programming at Stillwater, that you wanted to just wait until you were released entirely to start doing work on kind of some vocational programming. Did I understand that right, or maybe I'm misunderstanding kind of the intention of the question?
Nah, you kind of understood it right. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, I did say that. My plans is I want to go to Summit Academy. And I know that right there teaches you everything, helps you get it's an 18-month program, helps me get my warden's license, and that's what I was just focused on right then and there. I didn't have plans on going to another closed custody facility to learn about something. So that was not part of my plans. So yes, I did.
So is Summit Academy something that's outside the facility, or is that a program that is offered within the facilities?
No, Summit Academy is actually outside. I think it's in Minneapolis or St. Paul. It's in Minneapolis. It's Minneapolis, and they actually like help you with a lot of things. They help you get your warden's license, your CDLs, and I want to focus on those two things. And it's a school. It's like a school, and they teach you these things.
So how do you strike the balance? How do you strike a balance between, that, like, you want to get out, you want to, start your life, you want to do all of that stuff, and you want to do it fast. But how do you strike a balance between that and, like, really being prepared, because it's going to be huge. Like, it's going to be a huge shift, a huge transition, and the more things that you can have in place and prepared, I think the records show the higher likelihood of success. So how do you strike that balance? Because that is one of the things that stood out to me in the psych report, is like there's an eagerness to get out. Like I just want to do all that stuff when I get out. Like I don't want to do some of these things while I'm incarcerated. I'll do them when I get out, and I'll figure it out then. That's how it reads a little bit. And
yeah, well, I'm not gonna say like I'm just eager to get out. I mean, of course, I would like to go home, but I told my family this. I always say that I feel like it's best for me to transition to a medium facility because I'm gonna need that. I'm gonna need that to transition back in the world. I don't think that from transition from here all the way just out to the world is a whole different ballgame to me because like I'm so used to certain things. I'm in close custody, but when I go to transition to a medium facility, I can actually be around people who fresh from the world, different people, it's bigger environments, there's more things to do down there. So I don't expect to just eagerly just get right out. Wasn't my intention at all. Like I would like to transition my way into the world. So no, that's not how I kind of meant it.
okay, nope, fair enough, and I appreciate the clarification because sometimes written word doesn't necessarily accurately convey what you were explaining, so that's helpful. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, hearing none, Mr. Griffin, I'm going to open the floor to you to make one final comment to the board before we break off into discussion and deliberation and next steps.
I would just like to say one more time that I truly do apologize for Mr. Rogers' family and everything that I put them through. And I know I am nervous here. This is one of the hardest things I ever had to do, honestly. And I just hope that you see my change. You see my growth from my experience in here and from when I stopped getting in trouble and just trying to just better myself. And I just hope that I hope that y'all can see that. That's all I really got to say.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And with that, I will close this portion and open the floor to the board to discuss next steps or thoughts.
Clarification right now on the sentence and what are the discipline or the hurdles that what should I say, slows down movement or what's in the way?
Yeah, there really is not.
Yeah, I'm not aware of.
Not. I mean, he's got a hard out, and 37, and there would be nothing, to move him. I mean, other than the standard kind of with a where's, what's, and that kind of stuff.
Closed path or open path rather than 2026 is what I'm understanding.
Yeah, January 26th is when he would be. That's his minimum eligibility date. So that would be the earliest he could be considered for release.
Thank you.
So I understand there's an unmet treatment objective. I'll be honest, I think that's obviously first and foremost, which I think is his own acknowledgement. So I am appreciative of his recognition of the importance of kind of a slow and controlled, I'll use the term step down, not necessarily in the traditional sense that we use that particular term, but I'm appreciative of that. And I think that makes sense. I mean, in light of the way in which we have made motions previously today, this feels like a lot of similarities, if I'm going to be honest.
I thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would even go ahead and we could certainly have more discussion. I would even probably put the motion forward if we're at that point.
Please do.
At this point, a denial of parole for a period of 3 years with the opportunity to use the commissioner's term, for an off-ramp at 2 years, where if he has successfully completed chemical dependency programming, any additional programming, whether that be some positive pro-social, cognitive behavioral stuff, if those things are done, provide that off-ramp for 2 years. where he could petition to come back before the board for consideration.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second on this. The one thing I would just suggest is that given the plan of a potential interstate upon release, just that, not that you can nail everything down, but to begin thinking about that, because there is a process in that. And typically speaking, we would like to have people that have both a Minnesota release plan and a interstate release plan. And it's just simply because depending upon the whens and whats, that there's a process involved in that interstate transfer, if that becomes a possibility at some point in time. So, and then discipline free would be one of the standard conditions, I think, just as we look at this. So there's a motion and a second. Anything else? Hearing none. To the vote, to the motion, Board Member Earhart.
Yes.
Board Member Larson.
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead.
Yes.
Board Member Nelson.
Yes.
Board Member Struford.
Yes.
And Schnell votes yes. The motion passes unanimously. So, Mr. Griffin, you've had a chance to hear the plan here. We will begin to work with your team there to identify a move really likely to a medium facility so you can begin getting into that treatment programming. That's really one of the priorities you've identified and we've identified. And then I think in addition, and I would just really encourage, I was struck by some of the questions that Mr. Larson was asking you about. I would just really strongly encourage you to make the absolute most out of your time. And if there is that vocational program that you can access, evening or college classes where at the facility you go to, that you take advantage of those things, because that can really help you. And you're not saying, I'll wait till I get out to do that, because seeing the person that you have sitting next to you, there's a life to be lived. And so to be in a place where you're being as tight as you possibly can about using the time to maximize a benefit is going to be helpful for you, and probably it's going to be helpful for the board, who will see you at a maximum in 3 years, could be as early as 2, and that obligation would be, if you complete that SUD program, come to your case manager and your team and say, look, I have this option. They'll bring together that program review team like you did prior to this meeting, and make a request if that team agrees along with you that you've demonstrated that kind of progress. The board can see you early, and they would make that arrangement through HRU. But it really is driven by you, because we want you to own the fact that this work is yours to do. And I think, as we think about what you owe in this case, you owe living your best life, and that is, and you've talked about that yourself, and so we appreciate that, and we will get you a letter that describes all this. Any questions about it?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, we wish you well, and we'll be working with your team there on next steps. Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Griffin, thank you for being here today too.
Well,
all right. Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to run early. I think we should. Do we have any sense of?
They are bringing him into the room. Oh,
good work.
Can we get a hold of releases to see where they might be with Kappa? I think I'd maybe get them here a little bit early.
Mr. Smith.
This was a lot of crap.
Yeah.
Yes, could you transfer me to the nurse room 4033, please? Thank you.
I don't know where they want it, so I guess I'd take a seat anywhere.
We can't hear you.
Oh.
Now we can.
Mr. Smith, can you move closer maybe to the red chair right there?
To your right.
Thank you.
Do you have any information about the advocate? Right. But we're early.
Is she going to be in person? Is that
What it said.
Ian, is the advocate coming?
Yeah, I think you had to go pick them up at visitor.
okay? So they are there. They're just we're waiting on them.
Right, correct.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Where was the last hearing? That gentleman that we just did, where was he located?
Where's that? Stillwater. Or I'm sorry, Rush City.
Rush City. Thank you.
Thank you. No worries.
Hello.
Hello, sister. I actually got you guys. You sit up right over here for the camera.
Over here?
So Mr. Smith, if you want to sit here too. Fast, you sit there. So, oh, they did? Yeah. You can sit right there.
Move over to the other side of the table. That's fine.
Is that okay? Thank you.
That's perfect. That's great. Thank you so much.
All right, wonderful. Good afternoon, everyone. Rebecca Holmes Larson, Executive Officer of hearings and release in the Supervised Release Board. We are here today to review Mr. Joshua Smith, who is present at the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Stillwater. Mr. Smith also has his advocate and sister, is it Rashawn?
It's Rashawn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Ms. Rashawn Smith is also participating today. Here with me at the Minnesota Department of Corrections Central Office is our Commissioner and Chair of the Supervised Release Board, Mr. Paul Schnell, along with Board Member Joe Earhart, Member Andrew Larson, Member Cheryl Ramstead, Juvenile Expert Member Jody Nelson, and Juvenile Expert Member Donald Strufert. Our records indicate that on September 29th of 2006, a victim reported to police that on September 8th, 2006, she had been sexually assaulted by Joshua Smith. She reported that she had gone to his home in St. Paul, Ramsey County. Mr. Smith took her to the basement and kicked her in the head and forced her to perform oral and vaginal sex. On January 1st of 2007, just after midnight, St. Paul police were dispatched to the area of Payne and Lawson Avenue in St. Paul in Ramsey County on a report of a sexual assault and beating. The victim reported that she was walking. When she was walking, she was approached by a black male. After a brief conversation, she became uncomfortable and decided to leave. As she attempted to leave, he grabbed her by the neck and pushed her into an area between a dumpster and a wooden fence. He choked her and pushed her onto her knees and then forced her to perform oral and vaginal sex multiple times. He then forced her to another area where he grabbed her by the neck and began beating her about her face and head. She fell to the ground and he began kicking her about her head and face. She pretended to be unconscious and then he left. The victim had visible injuries to her head and face, including a 2-inch cut on her forehead. She was taken to the hospital and a sexual assault examination was completed. Oral swabs were then submitted to the BCA for testing. On March 1st of 2007, the results of the DNA testing were received and matched the DNA profile for Joshua Smith. On December 17th, 2008, Joshua Smith was sentenced to 43.25 years, or 519 months imprisonment by Ramsey County District Court after having been found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct. Due to new legislation regarding individuals who were juveniles at the time of their offense, Mr. Smith now has the opportunity to be reviewed by the Supervised Release Board after serving a minimum of 20 years of incarceration. Today's review by the board represents Mr. Smith's first review after serving approximately 18 years of incarceration. His original confinement release date is January 8th of 2036. His 20-year minimum eligibility date is March 9th of 2027. Thank you. I turn this matter over to the board. Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Mr. Smith. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'd like to start by asking you what it is you'd like to see happen as a result of today's meeting.
Well, from my understanding is that this hearing is saying that I will be eligible to be released in 2027.
That's correct.
And that's what I'm hoping for.
And what do you think you need to accomplish in order to be ready for a release in 2027?
Well, I did get a list of mandates to complete before my release. Majority of those I've done. Only things that I haven't done is anger management, AA, and treatment.
And are you talking about SO treatment or?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first and foremost, let me just, I want to make sure that I understand the record. Are you guilty of these crimes?
I do not feel that I am guilty.
Okay. Can you explain why?
The girl that you spoke of that I brought to my home, as she said, I did not attack her, did not bring her to my home. After midnight for the second crime, I've never met this woman ever. And this woman did not pick me out of a lineup. I was just told that somebody seen the sketch and said that looked like me.
What about the DNA?
The DNA, I don't know how they had a sample of my DNA if I never gave them a sample.
So let me just, but the DNA that was recovered off of your second victim, you dispute that that was your DNA?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they say they found DNA in this woman's mouth, but yet there was no DNA found on the person due to the hospital's DNA or sex rape kit. And I do have proof of that. They found no celluloids on this woman whatsoever.
Okay. So you deny wasn't me, wasn't there, didn't do it on the second one?
On both.
On both, yeah.
Oh, so in both instances you're innocent.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
I have a question. And looking at your report, it said that you engaged with approximately 20 to 30 people before you were incarcerated. And I'm wondering how you found those people. Where did you find your sexual partners?
Can you put some clarity to that question?
Yes. You estimated that you've had approximately 20 to 30 sexual partners. My question is, how did you meet up with, find, get to know, get together with these 20 or 30 sexual partners?
Did you ever say that you had 20 or 30 sexual partners in your life?
I've been with more than a certain number, but it's people that was around town that I've met from school, neighborhood that we stayed in, or just people that knew people that I knew.
How did you pick your victims? How did you pick these people who are
There was no
alleging that you
victims.
assaulted them?
Ma'am, I'm just going to, Rashawn, I just want to make sure that we're focused. We'll get to you here in a second, but I want to make, wait a second. So
hold on, sir. I understand. I just want to speak to what you're saying so I can help you understand.
I want you to stop. I want you to stop.
Do you have to yell and be so aggressive towards me, sir?
Ma'am, I want you to stop or I will have you removed from the meeting because that's just the way this is. This is a meeting.
There's no need to be aggressive. Aggression is not necessary. I'm trying to help him understand. From my understanding, I'm here to be an advocate for him, and he doesn't understand.
We're going to end this meeting altogether with you if you want to continue.
But he doesn't understand, and it's my job to advocate for him, sir. There's no need to be aggressive. We need to be examples for the people that we are trying to teach lessons here.
So wait a second.
There's no need to be aggressive towards me.
No. So here's the deal. So you will have the opportunity to speak and speak freely. But until that time, this is a conversation with your brother. And that's how it's got to be. And if it's going to continue, we're just going to stop it and we'll deal with it another time.
This question is for Mr. Smith and Mr. Smith alone. How did you meet up with the two people who had your DNA on their body or in their mouth. How did you meet up with those two people? One was an acquaintance, you said that. The other was a total stranger.
Yeah,
So
I've never met the woman that was a stranger. The one that I knew, I end up meeting her again after years of not speaking with her through an acquaintance of someone that I knew and that I felt was a friend at that time. And we exchanged numbers and spoke on the telephone.
And how did you get her
This other
to your
woman,
home?
I've never seen her, ever met her outside of seeing her in the courtroom.
Okay, let me just change course here a little bit. Are you willing to enter sex offender treatment?
If I have to, yes, I will.
And why would you enter sex offender treatment?
Because I want to be home with my family. I've lost numerous of relatives over these 18 years of me being incarcerated. And my grandmother is getting of age.
Do you believe that you could complete the program?
Huh?
Do you
Could you
believe
please
that you
repeat
could
that?
complete? Do you believe that you could complete the sex offender treatment program?
I believe I can.
Have you been involved in any sort of treatment related to sexual offending during your lifetime?
No.
Do you have any reason to believe that these women had a reason to lie about you?
Yep.
No, I'm not talking to you.
I'm speaking to Joshua. I'm not talking to you either, ma'am.
Ma'am, I'm gonna give this last caution, and this hearing is going to be over, right? So, last caution: when it's your opportunity to speak,
Can you tell me the rules? If I were told the rules ahead of time, then maybe we wouldn't be having this miscommunication.
Okay, well,
I think that's fair.
Okay, I'm telling you what the rule is. The rule is when
let me know all of the rules so that way I can know straightforward. If you will, please.
You are not permitted to be in a place to speak until we call on you and open the floor to you. The conversation.
So I can't speak to Joshua either.
That's
I need
exactly
to clarify.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, but I need to clarify. Everyone's understanding is different, sir. I would hope people in your position would have more understanding of that.
Okay,
I think all of you may even have degrees. You should understand that people need time to communicate. So you're saying something to me, so I'm trying to understand what you're saying to me.
This meeting is going to be over.
I have another question I'd really like to ask Mr. Smith. I'd like to find out about this. I see that you had a history of seizure activity. When you had seizures, did you lose consciousness?
Like pass out or?
Yes.
I'm not understanding.
When you had seizures, the report indicates that you have a seizure activity disorder. Whenever you had a seizure, would you lose consciousness? Would you lose touch with reality?
Not to my knowledge, no.
What would happen during those seizures?
I couldn't tell you 100% of everything that happened because I've had seizures while I was asleep. I've had seizures where my body seized. And from when I was younger, I couldn't tell you exactly what happened with those seizures.
Is it possible that your offenses were committed during or after a seizure?
I wouldn't say yes to that. No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Other questions board members have for Mr. Smith? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Smith, I'm wondering what steps you've taken to prove your innocence.
I've tried to go back on appeals. I've tried to go through to the Innocence Project. I've put in a request to Keith Ellison. I still haven't heard anything back from that. But the Innocence Project said because my case is based off DNA, they couldn't help me. I've went through the appeal process, and I believe 8 or so months after, they said that the Court of Appeals denied my appeal. They asked me if I wanted to go to the Supreme Court, and I wrote them and told them that I would, and they wrote a letter back that following week saying that they denied my appeal also.
Just one more question, Mr. Smith. In looking at your report, you indicated that you would have memory loss after seizures and would not remember what happened. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions, I'm going to turn to Ms. Smith to provide your insights and thoughts as to your brother's readiness for release and what you think he may need between now and the time of his minimum eligibility.
He needs to be released. That's what he needs. He needs to be released. And that's just it. These are crimes that he didn't commit. His whole life, he was a child with special needs. And this state has taken advantage of him. And I'm highly disappointed in each and every individual involved. Those are my statements. The very same people whose job it is to uphold the law did the things that they did to my brother, who was a child with special needs. And they took advantage of him. And I'm highly disappointed. Just as she was asking him those questions, a lot of the stuff he barely even understood. He was trying to figure it out. There's no compassion at all. And the second someone tries to step in to help him understand, is shut down and shut up and be quiet and don't speak, met with aggression.
Just one more question, Mr. Smith.
I am speaking, ma'am. It is my turn to speak. He asked Mrs. Smith, it's my turn to speak right now. It is my turn. You guys continue to do the very things that you ask other people not to do to others. I am trying for the life of me, for the love of God, to understand how people who are sitting here trying to force other people to behave well, but cannot fathom this very same good behavior themselves.
You through?
I am not, but thank you for asking so politely.
You're welcome. Mr. Smith, do you have a history of drug use?
Joshua needs to be released. He has given you all his entire life. Isn't that good enough? What else do you want from him? Since he has been here, since he was a child with special needs, with no one. His entire life since he was born, he has had seizures. He has never had a normal life. And then you throw him in a cell like a dog. He has cancer. You have robbed him of a life. These victims that you speak of, they are still living. They are still breathing. I have seen people murder people and get less time than this. It is highly unacceptable.
Are you sure?
I am.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, were you using drugs during this period of your life?
I have. but nothing would alter my understanding of the situation.
Have you been advised not to use drugs due to your seizure disorder?
I have.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us, just in terms of what you think may be going on? I mean, you know that your DNA was found on these two victims. That's a fact. Anything else?
That is not a fact.
Okay,
and you will not let these people, Joshua, treat you any different than what you know to be true. You do not listen to them. You stick with the facts that you know to be true. No one should force you to say anything other than what you know to be true. None of us were there.
Mr. Smith, I want to
You
just
only
open.
speak the truth. Do you hear me?
Whatever
that is, speak that truth.
Ms. Smith, stop, please. Mr. Smith, I'm going to open the floor to you, provide one last comment before the board enters into deliberations and discussions of next steps. Anything you'd like to say or offer?
No.
No.
Okay. Thank you. And with that, we'll close that portion of the discussion and move into the discussion of next steps.
I'm wondering if we could do a redo with a different advocate.
I believe we got some information.
I don't think he got. Can I finish?
Sure. I'm sorry.
I don't think he got. I thought he answered well. I think he understood what he was being asked. He's got his reality that is his reality, and I just wonder how this would have gone with an advocate that was not so emotionally charged by this. I would like to hear more of what he has to say.
The reason I would oppose that is he chooses his advocate. I mean, that's his choice. I don't think we should interfere with. Excuse me. I don't think we should interfere with that choice.
I'd also like to understand more about what are the special needs. Is he developmentally delayed? What there's a familial thing. Yes, sorry. I mean, there's a familial thing going on here. And he may not have picked the best advocate. I mean, I think she's definitely advocating for him, but in this setting, you would want somebody to help him tell his story better.
Is there anything in the file to indicate developmental delay?
Well, it's special ed, but we don't get the.
But we don't.
There's
know
nothing beyond
education.
special ed.
And yet, clearly, he needs sex offender treatment. They have sex offender treatment, and they will determine which level he needs to enter and participate in. He said he would be willing to go to SO treatment. We, of course, deny parole at this point, direct him to enter and complete a sex offender treatment program and any other appropriate programming. I don't really think there's a lot that we could get out of this. We don't know everything going. He may need some psychological testing. Certainly he is receiving medical treatment now, but we don't know, and we don't really need to know about the seizure drugs and that type of thing. But a thorough program, a thorough assessment will look into all of that in terms of whether that could be a factor in this, and it certainly could.
The file indicates that he was accepted into a sex offender treatment program at Lino Lakes, but that he was not accepted. It was offered.
I would not accept him.
Because he denied it. I don't know if there's any.
Well, they do
standard
have
procedure. That's standard procedure.
But they do have.
So I don't know that it would be any different.
They do have in different facilities. They have something called, at least they used to in Stillwater, a deniers group that people, if they chose to do so, would first go into. And you need to start somewhere with this. Certainly there's programming he can go to, but this is his outstanding need is treatment. And if there is such a group, I wish I knew. I wish I had a list of the groups.
There is not at present.
It may be that individual therapy would be a good place to start, because there definitely are some issues there that he needs to explore. And the individual therapy directly with him would be a good start.
We've got, two things on the floor right now? Your request to consider the opportunity for a second advocate and your proposal of particular steps to continue.
To deny parole, and because I can think of nothing better at this point, if TSOP will not take him, individual therapy to address his seizure disorder, his psychological well-being, and any impact that this could have on his offenses.
I understand that. You see no benefit for a second opinion or another opportunity for inclusion of another advocate?
What would be the best case scenario?
Well, I would like for him to have the experience that I think most people have with us, which is a lot of respect. Hearing from us in a way that's not so adversarial, given what his advocate has showed up in that way. I would just like him to have the opportunity to engage with us in everything you're saying. I'm in agreement with.
We can't force him to have a different advocate.
I think it's just unfortunate, or even come by himself, to hear and engage with us in conversation about what and why our plan would be.
So I'm troubled just by the door itself of denial, and because that makes it really hard to figure out what the moves are.
It's not that unusual.
I understand that's not unusual.
Used to take deniers into treatment because sometimes they need the support of others. Sometimes they need to think about it more in depth and look at the circumstances and think, well, I need to think about that more clearly. I wish they did. I can't make the program take anyone that they've refused. I wonder if we could ask them to reassess that decision.
I think there was, at least the last we had that conversation in-house, was the efficacy of the treatment, I think, became a question from a research standpoint, if there was a denial. And I think that was the underlying. I do also hear the range of concerns about, needs and having a better understanding of special needs, whatever the seizure disorder implications, whatever that looks like, and the other range of programming that it could be beneficial in terms of moving him forward.
Yeah, I'd like to see him move forward.
I guess I just don't know. I want to address this question of, would seeing him again with a different advocate or without one, would that change the next steps discussion? That's what I'm trying to struggle with here, and
he's in a rock and a hard place. He doesn't think he's a sex offender, and yet we're pushing sex offender treatment. He does want to get out, so he'll go for sex offender treatment, and he doesn't believe he's a sex offender.
Well, we have other people that we see who do not believe that they committed the offense for which they're incarcerated. That's not unusual.
I've been specific to sex offense. That's what I'm talking about.
And that's not unusual.
Sorry.
Because otherwise nobody else can.
Yeah, sorry. Yep.
I would wonder if there's maybe an opportunity. So there are two unmet treatment directives. There's SUD treatment, and then there's also the sex offender stuff. And I understand he's maintaining his innocence, and so I'll not even go down that road. I'm wondering if the focus is on the SUD treatment initially, maybe if that would, maybe kind of open, maybe that would address some of the things that we have been discussing. So, and may kind of start to foster that more rehabilitative, treatment-oriented mindset. So I would maybe just kind of put that out there as, because I agree that sex offender treatment piece is going to have to be something that's addressed. It just is. Our role is not to determine his guilt or innocence. That's what the court has done.
I think you make a really good point. The treatment.
I do.
So I would wonder if maybe that's, yeah. So maybe that's the route we go in terms of recommendations, and then bring them back in. You know, whether it's whatever. I know it's been said treatment can typically be 14 months, 18 months, whatever. So maybe we set it for, a 30-month continuance to allow time for completion of SUD treatment, come back, and hopefully the experience is better, and then we can readdress the sex offender treatment piece at that time. Just a thought.
He's actually on the waiting list at Stillwater and scheduled to begin the Atlantis program on July 25th.
Oh, good.
And it's an 8-week program, according to the records that we've got before.
I think that's the anger management treatment or anger management programming.
Yeah, I think that's right. They must have confused the two because
Atlantis is 12 months.
I have recommended anger management and on waiting list as well.
Yep.
My notes say Atlantis program 3/9/26, 12 months. Anger management July, 8 weeks.
So there's nothing in the file to indicate he's applied for chemical dependency treatment, or
Atlantis program 12 months, 3/9/26.
Okay, so that's the only difference. Is he on the waiting list for?
I think so.
For the same date I mentioned?
Was it 3/9/26?
Yes.
Yeah. I like what Andrew's proposing.
Mhm,
Is that a
Thank you.
Is that a motion?
I can certainly make that a motion.
All right,
if it was clear enough for a motion.
You want to just restate to the extent?
Sure, I'll attempt. I'll attempt. So my motion is to deny parole. Set a continuance of 30 months with the condition that he successfully complete the SUD programming, which he is already on the wait list for, as well as the anger management programming, which he is already on the wait list for. And then obviously the standard conditions of, no rule violations, and really encourage any other pro-social programming between now and when we see him again in 30 months.
All right. There's a motion, and is there a second?
Seconded.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. To the motion, Board Member Earhart.
Agree.
Board Member Larson.
Yes.
Board Member Ramstead.
No.
Board Member Nelson.
Yes.
Board Member Strufert.
Yes.
Schnell will vote yes. The motion prevails. Mr. Smith, you've had a chance to hear the discussion. We would be looking to work with your team to get you into treatment as kind of proposed and that programming, and then would see you in 30 months. And just in the meantime, would encourage you to remain discipline-free and participate in any kind of positive pro-social programming that may be available to you. Any question about that?
No.
Okay, thank you so much. Good luck to you.
Okay, we are still live, just so everybody knows. Do we know if we can get our work release person here yet?
We're gonna try getting a hold of them.
Okay, should we take a quick?
Yeah, let's. We'll go on break status.
The correct one's here, and I just
go from there.
Oh yeah. You know, I actually
So
okay.
The board will move into a break.